Nurture and support. Nurture and support. This is a podcast theme song. And it's really short.
Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nurture and Support episode CII. I think that's right in Roman numerals. Maybe.
I wouldn't know. I'm American.
American. Well, those American letters.
That's right.
There are both C and I are in American. So
yeah, but when you string them together like that, they're not American no more.
Looks pretty foreign to me, but 100 for the Americans out there. 102. Episode 102. I'm Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter. And with me, as always, with many notches in her Amazon Prime directive belt, is Mel.
Hey, everybody. I'm Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, where I have appeared lately. So, there.
So, deal with it. Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're here to recommend stuff again, because that's what we do. And I get to start off. And I am excited to make a recommendation that I think I have shown tremendous restraint on, because this particular this album was released on September 11th, and I've yet to recommend it until now. So I think that shows amazing restraint, because
of this year?
Of this year.
Oh my God.
So it's a current recommendation. And I didn't recommend it the minute after it came out, which I would typically do for anything that involves, of course, Alice Cooper. Mm-hmm. And my recommendation for this week is a little super group that Alice put together called the Hollywood Vampires, and it's the Hollywood Vampires album.
Okay.
Self-titled. And so originally, backstory, there was a group called the Hollywood Vampires back in kind of Alice's heyday, and Alice was actually the president of this club, and the club included such people as Keith Moon of The Who, the drummer, and so they'd kind of hang out at this bar on Sunset Strip, and they'd all just kind of gather. Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, Harry Nilsson, Bernie Taupin, the lyricist for Elton John. Later on, Joe Walsh became a regular attendee. And they used to just kind of get together and drink and raise hell. And they were called the Hollywood Vampires.
Okay.
So Alice stuck around a lot longer than a lot of the Hollywood Vampires. And so to a certain degree, this is a tribute album to all of his dead friends. In fact, the closing track is called My Dead Drunk Friends, which is to kind of clearly, this is in honor of them. So these are people that were either in the Hollywood Vampires or that Alice hung out with, or had some connection to, and it's cover songs. So there's actually 2 original songs co-written by one of the Hollywood Vampires, Johnny Depp. So we're going to go in here a little bit more. I was
going to say, I know a little bit about this. Yes. I knew Johnny Depp was in there somewhere.
He's in there, and he toured when they actually went on tour. Now, not everybody who appeared on this album went on the tour with them, but when they did do kind of a mini tour, and they actually went down and played in Brazil, they played out in Sunset Strip area. Johnny Depp, Joe Perry from Aerosmith, and Alice were kind of the core group, and then a couple of Alice's peeps, and actually a bassist from a band that Johnny Depp has some involvement with. But so Johnny Depp's in there, and so Raise the Dead and All My Dead Drunk Friends are 2 original songs written for this album, and all the rest are covers. It actually also starts off with Christopher Lee, who reads a passage from Bram Stoker's Dracula, boy, easy for me to say, The Last Vampire. And this was actually Christopher Lee's last recorded performance before he passed away. So it's kind of a spoken word from the novel Dracula at the beginning to kick off the album. Mm-hmm. And then it goes into Raise the Dead. Then it goes to My Generation in honor of Keith Moon, one of the Hollywood Vampires. Alice has played this on occasion in concert before. They do a really good version of it. It's good heavy rock. Whole Lot of Love from Led Zeppelin. Pretty amazing. And this is where another guest starts to show up. Brian Johnson from AC/DC. What I had never realized is that there's really no better pairing in the universe than Alice Cooper and Brian Johnson singing a song, because it's like 2 really loud cats going back and forth, but in a cool way. It sounds great, but two very
Okay.
unique. They're not crooners. Neither of them are crooners. They have very distinctive voices, good rock voices, but very distinctive. And to see them kind of together, trading lyrics on a Whole Lot of Love, which is a pretty rockin' song anyway, it was like, wow, that's pretty darn amazing. There's also I've Got a Line on You, and then they do a couple Doors song in honor of Jim Morrison, who's a buddy of Alice's. 5-1 and Break On Through to the Other Side. Robbie Krieger from the Doors plays on that track. Harry Nilsson's song comes next, actually a Harry Nilsson little medley of One. One is the Loneliest Number, sung in kind of Alice creepy voice, which is interesting, and Jump Into the Fire. And then for this song alone, Mel, you need to go to Spotify or wherever you care to go listen to it and get all the way through One and Jump to the Fire. Because guess what they break into at the end of that song?
What?
You put the lime in the coconut.
Yes.
So you get a little Alice singing "Lime in the Coconut," so that's not too shabby.
That could be terrifying.
It's gonna maybe be my ringtone. I'm thinking.
All right. I'm gonna have to hear that.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I hadn't. It catches you by surprise a little bit. But it's like, well, of course this makes sense. And of course, Harry was a member of the original Hollywood Vampires as well. Come and Get It. If you want it, here it is. Come and Get It. This is the one that a gentleman named Paul McCartney joined the Hollywood Vampires on. So he plays bass and piano, and this is an Alice Cooper, Paul McCartney duet of Come and Get It. So that's something you don't hear every day.
Right.
Jeepster is on there. Awesome song. Cold Turkey by John Lennon. Alice can do a really, really good, almost dead-on John Lennon impersonation when he wants to. He dials it back a little bit, but it's still John Lennon-esque in delivery, but you can tell it's there.
Cool.
Manic Depression by Jimi Hendrix. Itchy-Coo Park by the Small Faces. And then School's Out, Another Brick in the Wall. And this would be likely in honor of Glenn Buxton, who was an original guitarist with the Alice Cooper group. So you can do an Alice Cooper song cover there. And again, something that I had, you got Brian Johnson again. Brian Johnson with Alice Cooper on School's Out. And it's a Pink Floyd song. Amazing. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I had seen Alice do this in some of the encores in various concerts I had seen, but I didn't really get kind of the full appreciation until hearing this version here, where what they do is they kind of, as they get to the tail end of School's Out, and you've got that School's Out guitar refrain going, they'll play the School's Out guitar refrain, and then they'll jump into We Don't Need No Education, and then back to School's Out guitar refrain, and We Don't Need No Thought Control. And it's just a great mashup of two pretty fun songs that I really didn't typically connect, but they work very, very well together.
Cool.
And then the album finishes off with My Dead Drunk Friends. So got a lot of really good songs, kind of a lot of peppy songs. It's not all just kind of hardcore rock. It's this nice, interesting balance of some pretty classic stuff. It's all done really well. Johnny Depp's a pretty darn good guitarist. You got Joe Perry. He's no slouch either on that. Dave Grohl appears. Joe Walsh appears. So there's just a ton of talented people and a bunch of fun songs, and it's on Spotify, all 14 songs of it, and Christopher Lee's last appearance. So how can you not go enjoy Hollywood Vampires? That's my recommendation for this week.
Well, I really appreciate them putting that up on Spotify, since Adele won't put her album up on Spotify.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alice Cooper.
That's right. One of the many reasons Alice is better than Adele. Oddly enough, though, Amazon Music, streaming music, there's no Hollywood Vampires at all that I can find. So
they don't.
Streaming, on the streaming side. You can order it.
Streaming, yeah.
You could purchase it, but Spotify has the full shooting match. There's a number of the tracks on YouTube. There's several videos of like the concert performance in Brazil with Johnny Depp and Joe Perry, a little bit of the making of stuff. So there's lots of kind of interesting things out there.
Yeah, I know I had seen some pictures of Alice and Johnny Depp together a while back when they were doing the concert. So that's how I know about it. They looked oddly similar.
Yeah, sorta, kind of. I mean, possibly
like
related.
Yes, like that's where Johnny Depp might be heading someday.
Oh, goodness.
No offense to anybody.
No. None taken.
So actually, my recommendation this week, I'm also going to talk a little bit about some music, but it's going to be old music. So
No, you can't give old recommendations on this show.
no, this actually is a new recommendation, brand new. So much like yours having come out in September and you haven't talked about it yet, mine came out on November 10th and I
Ooh.
haven't talked about it yet. Mainly because I didn't have any internet.
Yeah.
For those of you following along at home who may not have known, I had some internet issues given that I live out in the country that we barely got fixed in time. So because I didn't have any internet, when Fallout 4 released on November 10th, even though I had pre-ordered the game, I didn't get to play. I've just recently gotten to start playing it, and of course I've logged way too many hours in too short of a time. But Fallout 4, in case any of you don't know about it, is a post-apocalyptic open world game. It's made by Bethesda, who made some other games I've talked about before, notably Skyrim, and the entire Elder Scrolls games. Morrowind is one that I loved absolutely, but I believe I've talked about Skyrim before. So this is kind of like Skyrim, only updated, and in a post-apocalyptic world. It deals with, all of you know I love steampunk. This deals with something that to me is very much related to steampunk, only it's turned around. It's retrofuturism. And what that essentially means is like the 1950s version of the future where everything is shiny chrome and plastic and vinyl, and the future looks like the old space movies from the 50s. And it's not all uh, shiny steel and touch interfaces like we think of the future now. In the 1950s, it was big clunky space machines and things like that. It's got this own particular look to it with the bubble helmet on the astronauts and all of that stuff. It's got its own charm. There's a number of artists out there. I think I've talked about one before, Bradley Shink, who does a lot of retrofuturism art. But I like it. It's cool. So the premise of Fallout 4 starts basically around, I think the year 2077 is when the game technically starts, and that's how you develop your character. You can choose to be either male or female, and you get the story started right before the bombs drop. And you barely get into a vault to be frozen for a little over 200 years before the bombs fall. I play a female character, the female wanderer, and so basically my husband and my baby are in the vault across from me, and are in the little freezer tube across from me. And as the apocalypse goes on, you don't know you're frozen. Well, they open up the freezers to steal your baby and shoot your husband, and then they run off with your kid. So you are the only survivor of Vault 111. And you wander out into the world, which is 200 something years later. This vault was right outside the little suburb that you lived in, and it's all overgrown. You make it to your little suburb, all the houses have fallen in, but you know what remains? Your robot butler.
So the robot butler was there before?
Yes.
Oh.
This is all part of, that future that we don't have yet.
Okay.
Yes, there is a robot butler. His name is Codsworth.
Had to be bored.
Technically, his model is a Mr. Handy, and
Okay.
yes, I know. He does pretty much everything around the house. He can garden, he can cook, he can take care of the baby. He pretty much does everything. And he floats in the air. He doesn't have legs. He's not like a robot with legs. He floats in the air with a little jetpack.
Which is why he wasn't named Mr. Lakey.
Right.
Right. Okay,
He's Mr. Handy because he's got maybe 3 arms. He's got 3 eyes. Maybe he has 3 arms. I can't remember. But he's pretty good in a fight, y'all. So you make it to your little suburb and find Codsworth. and he's gone just a little bonkers in the 200 years since you've been gone. He spent 100 years trying to keep the floor waxed, and it's impossible with the nuclear fallout to keep the floor waxed. Poor thing. He's had a hard time, but he has survived all this time waiting for you to come home. And so then your quests start up. And just like any of these big open world games, there are a ton of quests that you come across, that you stumble across. The game is as much about exploring the environment as anything else. So you get a bunch of mutated animals, you get mutated people, all sorts of stuff. Now, one of the interesting things that makes this a little different from, say, if you've played the fantasy-based ones like Skyrim, is because this is post-apocalyptic, there's radiation, and you pick up radiation from everything you eat, drink, and they even have radiation storms. And forget about going swimming, because the water is full of radiation and you are irradiating yourself everything you do. So part of what you have to do in any of these games is you become a junk collector, or as Codsworth says, that you're becoming a pack rat, because the point is you pick up every tin can, every empty bottle that you find everywhere, because you need that to make stuff in the game to improve your life. There's a bunch of settlement building going on as well. There's a lot of cool aspects to this game that encompass all of the different things that are cool these days. There's a bunch of crafting going on. So not only can you craft your armor, your weapons, you even can build houses. You can farm, but you raise up these little settlements to protect them from the bad people in the world who would come take all of their things away. So you get to assign workers to different aspects of the settlement that you're building. You find a dog, which is always exciting to me. This was a big change in this world, that you get a dog. So in your wandering, you come across a dog who already has a name. His name is Dogmeat, and he's pretty fun. He's a German Shepherd. He's a good little companion.
And does he talk, or does he have a little name tag that says, "My name is Dogmeat"? How do you know
No.
his name is Dogmeat?
Because when you put the mouse over him, if you're playing on the PC, you put the mouse over him. If you're playing on a console, you move the cursor, it says his name is Dogmeat. That's
Okay.
how you know his name is Dogmeat.
Fair enough.
He doesn't tell you. He's a dog. He is not mutated enough that he can speak.
Okay.
He can help you, tell you if there are enemies in the area. He can find loot for you as well. One of the cool things, and this took me a while to figure out, I never put two and two together because sometimes I'm slow. Your companions can carry a bunch of your loot that you find, because it doesn't take very long before you have filled up your carrying capacity, and then you have to go back to town to dump it all off and do all of that. Well, you can actually trade stuff with your companions and make them carry a bunch of stuff, which is cool. I didn't know that at first, actually, for several levels, because I'm slow, like I said. I ran around with Dogmeat for a long time before I really ever took Codsworth out. I would personally recommend for people new to the game to take Codsworth out, because he has a blowtorch. He also has a saw, a rotary saw, and he can slice things up. So really, take Codsworth out with you if you're concerned about running into bad things, because he can pretty much protect you in the early levels pretty well. You will eventually run into firefights that he's not going to be able to kill everybody for you, but that's for later levels, when hopefully you've built up your weapons and things like that.
How does Codsworth and Dogmeat get along?
They haven't had any interactions. At this point in my game, Codsworth doesn't particularly like me, I don't think. You can ask him how your relationship is going, and he's really not very sure. You're not the same person that he knew 200 years ago, and he's not thinking you've changed for the better. So I really can't tell if the robot is going to turn on me at some point.
It's kind of bad news with the blowtorch and saw. You probably do want to
Yes.
keep him on your side.
I'm trying to get him on my good side. I've given him a bowler hat. You actually went, some of the stuff that you trade to them, they will equip. Now, he won't put on any hat. He wouldn't put on a chef hat that I gave him, but he will put on a bowler hat. So he is a big floating sphere with 3 eyes and a bunch of arms wearing a little black bowler hat. He's adorable.
Nice.
So the purpose of this game, why you're going on all of these quests, besides the fact that you've stumbled out of a vault where you've been frozen for 200 years, is obviously you're looking for your baby who some jerks stole. So that's the premise. You're looking for your baby because you saw these people steal him. And people keep giving you clues as to where to go to get more clues to lead you on this search for your child. In the midst of all of that, you're wearing a Pip-Boy, which is a big contraption that you wear on your arm like a bracelet that gives you all your stats, your inventory, it's how you level up, all of that kind of stuff. But one other thing it's gotten there is a radio, and it will pick up different radio signals from all around you, one of which is the Diamond City radio channel. And this is where the music comes in that I'm talking about. The Diamond City radio plays a bunch of old music. We're talking Bing Crosby, Billie Holiday. There's some alarming songs in there that I didn't actually know anybody played back then. There's one in particular I find disturbing called Butcher Pete, and it was performed by Roy Brown and was apparently done in 1949. All of you should probably listen to that because it's a little disturbing. He likes to chop people a lot. So let's see. There's another one called Crawl Out Through the Fallout, which goes, of course, with our theme here, by Sheldon Allman. That was released in 1960. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of them. I'd heard this one. Grandma Plays the Numbers, 1949, performed by Winona Harris. There's just a lot of cool ones. I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire by the Ink Spots. That's from 1940. But the music is one of the things that gives this game so much charm.
No music from 1905, though, right?
No, I am fairly
so.
certain that they did not go that far back. It's All Over But the Crying by the Ink Spots is another one that they play. There's just, it's a lot of fun. The little DJ that they have going on there is fun too. It's a nice aspect to give you something to listen to while you're playing the game. The radio is actually a pretty important aspect of the game. As you're wandering around, you can pick up signals from other little settlers to pick up some quests that you otherwise wouldn't find if you're running around without listening to that radio. Of course, you should occasionally, if you're going to be in a bad place, you should maybe turn it off so that you can hear the monsters coming to get you. But that's a personal choice. If you would rather listen to the Ink Spots while you're doing some killing, go right ahead. There's also a classical, if you get tired of listening to the Ink Spots, you can switch it over to a classical station. I'm usually listening to the Diamond City radio, though. Or I turn it off when I get irritated because they've played Butcher Pete too many times and that song just disturbs me a little bit. So anyway, it's a fun game. It is available on PC, of course, and all of the consoles, Xbox, PlayStation.
Most current versions, I assume. So PS3,
yes.
No. PS4, yes, or
PS4, I don't know about PS3, but on Xbox, they claim to be making the Xbox One backwards compatible now with Xbox 360 games, though a few people I know say it's not working right now. But they're working on it, which will maybe help people like me eventually upgrade to something like that, because I have Xbox 360 games, not that I'm any good at console games, because I need a keyboard to play a game. I really can't use those controllers. I'm not coordinated enough to do all that. So, Fallout 4, it's a really fun game if you like post-apocalyptic anything. If you like 1940s, 50s music, it's right up your alley. It is a shooter mostly. You can use machetes and things like that. It has an entire tier of perks for you to put points into for hand-to-hand combat. You know, it's mostly a shooter though, and I really don't want to go hand-to-hand combat with some of these people because they irradiate you too once they get close to you. And so far, the rataways have been a little less scarce. Those are the little meds that you take to help clear you of radiation. So you have to be very careful. You kind of have to let it build up before you use one of those, or you're going to be wasting it. So eventually, you get a high enough level. There are some things you're going to be able to craft yourself that will help you with the radiation problem. But in the beginning, you have to be careful what you're getting into because you'll end up with a lot of radiation, which eats away at your health. And pretty soon, a little bloat fly will end up killing you because you don't have enough health because you're so irradiated, and they irradiate you more. But post-apocalyptic, of course, I love that kind of stuff. It's fun. It's neat. They're not exactly zombies in there, but there are ghouls who are very similar to zombies. So it's fun. I like it. It's definitely, if you liked Skyrim, you'll like this game. Even I can play it, and I am not very good at these shooter type games, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay, which tells you that it's it's geared. It's not Call of Duty. Okay, you're not having to be that precise. It helps, but I can play it, and I suck at shooters. So we're doing pretty good. I like it. It's fun. I have a dog named Dogmeat and a robot butler named Codsworth, and we're pretty cool. Hopefully Codsworth doesn't turn on me at some point.
Yeah, keep us posted. I don't like the sounds of where things may go. But
Yeah,
maybe the hat. You know, you may have gotten some goodwill with the hat.
I hope I've bought him with the hat, you know. I'll buy him all the hats he wants as long as he doesn't, you know, blowtorch me or something. So anyway, it's a fun game. Bethesda always makes good games. Not too glitchy either for me. I'm playing on PC. I've got one area of the map that seems to be having some issues, but they've actually just released a beta patch that's supposed to fix some things, so that should be released to those of us not in the beta train soon. So it's a fun game. Fallout 4, you've probably heard a bunch of it online, a bunch of stuff online about it because they were doing a very aggressive ad campaign for it, but it's fun. The music is fun. I just like the whole feel of the game, and all that retro futurism that they have going on is just super cute in the midst of the apocalypse. So check it out.
Very cool. Yeah, and so, you know, there's a way I play these. I've established it before, which is find a weapon, find something to use the weapon on. It's kind of the end. Repeat.
Yes.
So it sounds like I can do a little bit of that, but I've got to manage. So it sounds very cool. Yeah, very cool.
I like it.
Excellent. All righty. Well, we're going to move on to our social media recommendations. And when I say our social media recommendations, I mean that because both Mel and I have recommendations for this week. And so why don't you go first, Mel?
All right, because I haven't had one in so long. Y'all are shocked. This is a good one. I like it. They don't have, let me see, they don't have a whole lot of tweets. In fact, there are only 8.
So it's a deep relationship.
Yes. But the few that they've put up, I really enjoy. And I think the rest of you will enjoy them too. And I just like their Twitter name. It's @meananimals. And it's technically called Animals Being Jerks. And their avatar is this very angry raccoon. I suspect it might be a taxidermy raccoon. But what initially drew me to this particular account, and someone must have tweeted it to me, is a little clip of a Saint Bernard who is being pestered to death by this little Siamese kitten who is just all up in his face. And he's putting up with it, putting up with it, putting up with it, and putting up with it. And then finally he just puts a big old paw over him and squashes him to the ground and lays his head on top of him. And you see the little kitten, you see his back end wiggling, trying to get out from under the leg. And finally he pops out. So
I like it. I like it a lot.
So it's cute. Animals being jerks. @meananimals on Twitter.
That's
Go follow them so they'll tweet more.
That's right. Hey, come on. Except don't make the animals mad. Very good. A strong return there. Excellent. And my recommendation this week's going to be, it's an actor. He plays Edward Nygma on Gotham, otherwise known as the Riddler. Really awesome character and great portrayal. And before the show, Mel and I were talking, and so not going to spoil Gotham for folks in case depending where you're at, but two pretty cool characters with the Riddler and the Penguin, and I don't know. Imagine a world where maybe they hung out a lot, almost like a buddy movie. Wouldn't that be interesting? Well, it is. It's awesome. It's just about the best TV I've seen in a long time. But his Twitter handle is, so his name is Corey Michael Smith, and his Twitter handle is @Mr_CMS, Corey Michael Smith. So Mr. CMS. Looks like he's also pretty active on Instagram as well, and in his Twitter bio, he gives all his Instagram information as well. So I'd recommend following him. He does a little bit of interacting during the shows. He seems like a good guy. Seems fun, and he's doing a fantastic job. So Corey Michael Smith gets my social media recommendation for this week.
Cool. You're gonna convince me one of these days to start watching Gotham.
So it's not like a Breaking Bad push to kind of where I just have zero. There's absolutely there's no way you're not gonna love Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. I guess there's a chance you might not like Gotham, but I find it unlikely. I think there's just, especially as time goes by, there's a lot of fun things going on, and it's a nice balance of adventure, drama, and a pretty healthy dose of humor running through the whole thing. And Michael Chiklis from was a Badge? Was that the name of the series? He's been in a bunch of things. He played John Belushi in the Wired, the movie about John Belushi. He is a recent addition to the cast, and he's been pretty fun. Well,
it's up on Netflix, so I might get caught up at some point.
And speaking of husband shooting baby stealers, we're going to turn it over to Matt now, who's going to give you all the information on how you can connect with us on YouTube, iTunes, the blog, email, Twitter, etc. And we are looking forward to chatting with everybody for show CIII next week. So, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
You can contact us on our website, nurtureandsupport.net, or email us at nurtandsupp@gmail.com. That's NURTANDSUPP@gmail.com, or tweet us at nurtandsupp on Twitter. You can also catch Nurture and Support on YouTube. Just search Nurture and Support or Kelly Tool.
Nurturing and supporting Dogmeat.